I wasn't all too sure what to expect from Raya and the Last Dragon. On one hand, you watch the trailers and are greeted with these awesomely intense action scenes. On the other hand, we're shown, well, these guys. A side cast that looks entirely composed of comic relief characters designed purely for the sake of pushing merch. Most disappointing of all though was this Elsa-looking ass, the titular Last Dragon. Still though, I was intrigued by every other aspect of the movie, and I still saw a glimmer of hope for it. Although maybe Disney didn't see that glimmer, seeing as they not only put it behind a paywall, but also launched it on the same day as WandaVision's finale. Why? So basically you have these two very different and conflicting tones. Did Disney manage to pull off this juggling act? And most importantly, is it worth your hard-earned cash? Well, let's take a look. Spoilers ahead, obviously. Let's kick things off with a synopsis. Skip ahead to the time shown on screen now if you ain't interested and want to skip to the good stuff. 500 years ago, humans and dragons lived harmoniously in the nation of Kumandra. However, the peace was disrupted by shadow-like creatures called the Droon, which are basically these heartless knockoffs that can turn people into stone. The dragons created a magical orb to seal away the Droon, but had to sacrifice themselves in the process, turning into stone. The humans fight over the orb, splitting into 5 tribes: Fang, Heart, Spine, Talon, and Tail, which are all based on the parts of a dragon. Raya's father, the Chief of Heart, is training Raya to protect the orb. No longer wishing to be in conflict with the other tribes, Raya's father hosts a feast and invites every tribe, which may not be the best idea, seeing as all of the other tribes hate Heart for hoarding the orb all to themselves. Personally, I wouldn't bring them right to it. Long story short, Raya gets tricked into leading the Fang tribe chief's daughter Namari to the orb. Who saw that coming? The pair of them fight, which accidentally breaks the orb and frees the Droon. I guess you could say everything changed when the Fang Nation attacked. Now, Raya is in search of Sisu, the last dragon, to help her recover the shattered pieces of the orb owned by each tribe respectively. And if you were ever in doubt that this movie was copying Avatar's homework, Raya has her own appa now. She of course does end up finding Sisu, and the two of them travel from tribe to tribe, making allies to assist them on their quest. Finally, they reach Fang, where Sisu tries to convince Raya to make up with Namari peacefully. Namari tries to betray them, but Sisu reasons with her. Raya isn't convinced however, and attacks Namari, which startles her and inadvertently kills Sisu. Nice one, genius. Sisu's death causes the village to drain, allowing the Droon to ravage it. In the chaos, Raya finds Namari and attempts to kill her. Seeing her remorse though, the two cease fighting and instead help the others evacuate the village. The Droon surrounds Raya and the others, but Raya comes up with the idea to put the orb together there and then. However, giving up their piece of the orb also means losing the thing that's protecting them from the Droon. Raya starts off and the others soon follow. This leaves Namari, who tries to nope the fuck out, but ultimately ends up placing her arm around Raya and sacrifices herself as well. Cute. With the orb restored, the Droon are vanquished, the humans are freed, and I guess the dragons are freed too for some reason. They all gather at Heart, and they become the nation of Kumandra once again. So first off, Disney being Disney, of course the animation was fucking gorgeous. For one thing, I really liked the designs of the humans in this movie, and the attention to detail during some scenes, like the subtle hand gestures and detailed expressions, were unreal. I was particularly fond of the way that Sisu moved. Not only were the characters well designed and animated, but the locations were stunning as well. Each area had its own feel and was so unique and interesting, yet they still all felt consistent with each other. I also have to mention how cool these stylized segments were when a character would tell a story or something. They were drawn in 2D and just looked awesome. The highlights for the animation though were definitely the action scenes. Not only was the fight choreography impressive, but there were so many fun and interesting cuts and angles during those scenes. And just as great as the animation was the score. It was purely just epic and exciting. It really just captured this sense sense of magic and adventure, and it felt very appropriate for the culture of the movie as well. I'm glad that they decided not to go down the musical route, because there's this sense of immersion that the music creates, which I wouldn't want tarnished by Raya randomly breaking into song. Raya herself was an amazing protagonist. She had strong motives, she was genuinely flawed, and was just an all-around badass. She is not the first self-sufficient Disney princess, but in my opinion, she is most definitely the coolest. I really liked that even though she's a nice person, the movie wasn't afraid to have her make ugly mistakes that could kind of make her unlikable, like she straight up gets Sisu killed because of her distrust, and I thought that was pretty ballsy and a great setup for the climax of the movie. The last dragon herself, Sisu, was far more entertaining and generally more likeable than I expected her to be. My immediate impression of her was, oh boy, she's going to be the annoyingly annoying, quirky and energetic best friend who won't shut the hell up. And well, I was kind of right, but also it felt necessary for the movie. Obviously the movie's main theme is trust, which Sisu is sort of meant to embody, so giving her this type of personality made total sense to me. It felt very organic. Honestly, she wasn't even as annoying as I expected, and I ended up finding her kind of charming actually. Her voice is still super grating though. The side characters, who I thought were going to be pure comic relief and would drag the movie down, actually ended up being likable as well. What I will say is that they weren't particularly interesting, but they were definitely needed to push the story's plot and theme. They'd kind of only take the spotlight in between the action, and to be honest, I really enjoyed those moments where the story would slow down and have these light-hearted and sentimental moments with them. Namari was a great villain. She was fun and had motives which I definitely thought were empathetic. She was just doing what she thought was best for her people. In her version of the story, Raya was the bad guy, and that's always a very compelling sort of story to tell. I mean, thank God we didn't get another twist villain, you know, excluding her childhood betrayal. Big praise for that. Mostly though, she really shone for me during the climax of the movie where she had to trust the person she betrayed in a moment of self-sacrifice. It was just this really perfect, beautiful moment. Speaking of trust though, the movie unfortunately had a big problem with holding the audience's hand. The dialogue was fine for the most part, but the script would constantly throw around the word trust like it didn't trust the audience to know that the movie was about trust. Trust me, we knew. It just felt annoying and unnecessary. It really wasn't that difficult to figure out. The movie could have not said trust once during the entire runtime, and I think it would have been better for it. Another thing that I didn't really love was all of the dragons coming back at the end. It felt unnecessary, especially Sisu. I get that it's a kids movie, but it almost felt like the movie was too afraid to commit to its own choices. Like they went, maybe this movie is getting a little too PG. I thought her death could have been a really powerful moment that serves as a reminder for Raya and Namari as to what this trust can lead to, which could have really strengthened the narrative's theme. I mean, I expected her to come back, but it just would have been neat if she stayed dead. You know, just so I didn't have to look at her ugly Elsa face again. All in all, I really loved Raya. I think the movie felt very fresh for Disney, and it definitely did a lot of things right. However, it also felt like being a kids movie held it back in some regards. So, to answer the question, is Raya the Last Dragon worth paying extra for? No, fuck that. Paying for anything on top of Disney Plus is just ridiculous. Go and buy yourself a Dream t-shirt or something. I guess it's more worth it than Mulan though. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.